Hello, and welcome to Regrets I've Had a Few. I'm Paul Hunter, Artistic Director of Told by an Idiot, and this is a podcast where I talk to friends and colleagues delving into what made them the person they are today.
Hello and welcome. My guests this month are a brilliantly funny duo who have been making us laugh since they first met in 2010. Their unique blend of chaos and control, often fused with a searing honesty, has garnered them a loyal and appreciative audience. Welcome Mercè and Patrícia Rodriguez, two halves of Little Soldier.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
It means a lot that you've joined us on this episode. Now, I'm not always used to having more than one guest, but I couldn't interview you separately. I couldn't bear the carnage, that the fallout of me speaking to you separately would have been so toxic. I think it's better that we deal with the duo in one whole, so to speak. I always like to start by taking my guests back to their very early experiences of seeing some theatre or live performance, might be with the family or with school. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kick off with Mercè. Do you have an early memory of what it was and how it made you feel, Mercè?
Yeah, I think probably it must be in Fira Tárrega, which is like a big festival, arts festival. In Catalonia, it's an outside arts festival, and it's over a weekend. And I remember going there with my parents because they have some friends there, and being absolute like it. There was shows popping out everywhere, so it wasn't kind of a one show. I remember seeing La Fura dels Baus there, which is like this company that does like the big outside immersive kind of shows, and they tend to use a lot of blood and fire, at the time, blood and fire. And it was like, I think probably quite thrilling and terrifying at the same time, just kind of as an audience, like being quite small, like with my parents, like just kind of seeing like people running and screaming. Just not really sure what was going on, but I think probably that was it. And then in the town was clown shows like popping up everywhere, lots of circus. So yeah, I think probably La Fura dels Baus might have been one of my earliest memories of going to Fira Tárrega. Yeah.
I'm laughing, Mercè, because often when I ask this question to my English guests, they say, well, my parents took me to see a pantomime, and I was saying there was blood and there was...
Very childlike, Spanish child.
But how old were you?
Oh, I don't know, because we used to go like every a lot of years. We used to go and visit them during that time. So I can't remember. Maybe I was 6, 7, like.
Running, being chased through the streets by these very dangerous the Fura dels Baus performers. Patrícia, what about you?
I think my first encounter with theatre was actually performing. I don't think I had seen a show before I actually was in a show, because I remember we did like a Christmas show kind of thing when, in preschool, like I might have been like 5 years old. My first role was to be the mirror of Snow White. And I remember I remember holding a frame of this mirror. So I had to tell, the queen, like she was the most beautiful, So I had to say always that. And I remember that was my role. And the cue I had, it was like at some point, the girl who was doing the queen would be so angry with me because I would say that Snow White was the prettiest girl in town, would have to smash the mirror, which was me, and I would have to faint like behind these things. And I didn't do it. I didn't follow that cue. So I stayed. And so I stayed in front of the queen. And I remember people laughing at that because I stayed and I shouldn't. And I remember liking it. I remember liking the feeling of that accident.
Oh, no, that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So I remember that, and that was the very first thing of like a live performance thing. It was like in the context of Christmas, thing. And that was my very first encounter with theater. And then the next one was when I was as an audience member, and I saw in the school a production that it was very immersive. And I remember it was like pirates, and I loved it. I remember absolutely loving it. It was like pirates and people moving around. We were sitting on a round. It was like a classroom. And I remember at the end of this, um, they would ask us to do bits, And I remember a a boy I used to like getting up and doing a bit in that moment, and I was like completely in love. I thought that was so cool. To be able to stand up and doing that, I thought it was the most attractive thing I had ever seen. So I loved it.
Both of the memories are very powerful. They're very
Ah,
spirited. I'm moment when you talk about, was it a conscious decision not to be smashed away by?
no, it was an accident. It was not remembering what I had to do. And and then, but I discovered those, people there who would, laugh. And I remember looking at it thinking, I like this moment.
Well, that's a very, I mean, it's something that I suppose we discover as performers, particularly, like yourselves, that early feeling when you're able to elicit that response. Particularly, I always remember in adults, when I felt I could do it, and my dad never really laughed. He was a very funny man, but he never really laughed very much. And then I remember entering a talent competition when I was 6, and I sang a song, and my family said
Oh,
he laughed so much that he fell off his seat.
yeah,
And I always felt very pleased that I was able to elicit that response. And also, of course, your other memory touches on how attractive it is.
it is. It is.
I touch
Yeah.
on that again later. Obviously, you both grow. Am I right? You both grew up in Spain.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up in Spain?
So I grew up near Barcelona, small town. It's really small town up north of Barcelona, about like an hour's away, like near the sea. So yeah.
Yeah. I grew up in Asturias, where I am at the moment when we speak, the northwest, yeah, of Spain. Yeah.
You have these early experiences, the performative and watching the dangerous behavior. The streets. Um, what do you remember a time when you started to think, "Oh, I'd quite like to do this"? When you were at school, or when did it start to percolate? Patricia, when did it start to become something you thought, "Oh, I might like to do it"?
Well, I have an entry in my diary after seeing this boy getting up when I was 7 years old, and I said, I want to be an actress like my boyfriend, which he wasn't my boyfriend, but in my mind he was. So I said, I want to be an actress like my boyfriend Israel. I said, I wrote it down. I read it clearly. I'm very confident, and it's there. It's written there.
Were you as clear in your view, or did it emerge in a different way?
Yeah, I think it wasn't as clear as a previous 7 year old. No, I think it kind of because I kind of started doing theater clubs and things like that. And then I remember one moment that I thought I really want to do this. Which it's when I went, the theater group took us to see Pina Bausch in Barcelona. So it was like this trip, and I remember going to see the show, and it was like all of these performers running and throwing flowers, and there was like a bridge coming down, and then the performers came out of the audience, and they shared us pictures of their holidays. It was just like something I'd never seen before, something so exciting. And I remember sitting there, feeling jealous of the performers, experiencing that fun and that, like that experience that I felt like I wanted to be there with them doing that. So I think that's probably the moment I remember really clearly. I probably was around 14, clearly like thinking, I
Yeah.
want to do this. Like that sounds like like a good fun thing to do.
But it's interesting, isn't it, that notion you sometimes get when you see a certain type of performer or performers that maybe you haven't encountered before. I mean, mine was a bit later, but I remember with Hayley seeing the early shows of Complicity because they were older than us, and just the shows I loved. There was something about them. So when they came in the bar, they didn't well, they weren't English actors, but they didn't look like actors I'd seen. They looked more like a circus or more kind of, and that again, that sense of being attracted, I thought, I want to hang out with these guys. And obviously that didn't happen, so we made our own thing. But what about the notion then of studying theatre? Was that something you went on to do, or in Spain? Or
Yeah, I did. I joined the School of Theatre here in Asturias, which was was quite rich. There was not many subjects, and it was quite rich. We would study Lorca, and yeah, there was movement, and it was intense. It was like one of these drama schools of character and feeling this and feeling that, and uh, which yeah, I I enjoyed. I enjoyed as well. I have to say, I didn't do as much comedy as I ended up doing when I started. International. You know, growth. Later on. But it was a regular drama school for years with a bit of theory, with a lot of acting, and yeah, it was that kind of thing. And then I went to Philippe, and then yeah,
no, so did you study theatre in Spain before you? Yeah.
Not in Spain. I wanted to go to this like the Instituto del Teatro, which was like the formal kind of drama school, and I didn't end up getting in there because you have to do like written exams and things, and I wasn't very good at that. And then when then I started a career. I studied politics, and when I finished, I was still like, I really wanted to do this theater thing. So I came to the UK to learn English, and I did a course at East 15, like a summer course. And like it was clown, a summer course with the then direct then the person who became the director of the contemporary theatre with Uri Rudna. And I did this clown 2 weeks in there, and then I was like, I want to do this. I want to do this in this drama school. And then I teach my I finished my degree, but I did everything, and I came to the UK, and then I studied the B16 for the whole like city course. Yeah.
And when you came to the UK, and Patrícia, you went to study with Philippe. Was Philippe in Paris then, or was he in London?
yeah, he was in Paris, but he's a school as it's in English language.
I'm just
Um,
want to ask, so I get you my timelines right. When you haven't met yet, Mercè has gone to East 15, and you're now in Paris with Philippe, but you're still separate. You don't know each other. Little Soldier does not exist. So you do Philippe, and that must be a massive turning point for you.
yeah, a massive turning point in the sense of I remember being in the school with my first day was 30 students, everybody from everywhere. It was the very first time I left Spain. I had never been away from Spain. And there was people from Japan, Brazil, you name it. There was all the countries that were there, Jesus. And I was just amazed at how much uh, beauty you could see, in those performers throughout the whole year. And language didn't matter. Yeah, and I was introduced to this idea of pleasure on the stage, having pleasure on the stage and what it meant, and to be free on the stage with, and this was like this new, vocabulary that I didn't get in this drama school that I had been when I was studying here in Spain. And I love that. I just loved that. I thought it was
A
amazing.
massive thing. But then when did you come to London? After Philippe, or did you go back to Spain?
I went briefly to Spain. I went back briefly, heartbroken a little bit. Uh, but- and then I went to London again by accident. All good accidents in life, like smashing that mirror. And then uh, and then I started to join courses drama courses, like theater training that had links with Philippe somehow. So I followed that thread, and that is how I arrived to a Told by an Idiot workshop.
And now, for our listeners, you are also arriving at the workshop. Am I right, Mercè?
Yes. So I was finishing the drama school, and Uri was very good at sending us opportunities and things that, again, links to theatre companies working at exciting theatre companies working at the time that they were doing courses. And and then that arrived, like he mentioned, there was a weekend course with Told by an Idiot, and that's where I had to.
I feel like I've fraudulently set this whole episode up so I can talk about it all happened. But we always laugh because we're very delighted that obviously by total chance the encounter happened when we were somehow there as well. But can you remember, because you have such amazing chemistry as I love your chemistry and your play and your relationship, and we can talk about Heads Will Roll, the show that we made together for the company. But I always think, I'm always curious about this because obviously I suppose Hayley and I met whilst training with John, and he provoked us and we seemed to have something together, but it was very hard to kind of put your finger on it. And he kept saying, don't think about it, just play. So you do that weekend, and then you obviously got on. And how did the beginnings of contact after that weekend? So how did that happen?
So I feel like on that weekend we met each other, and I think automatically we got on together really well. But I don't know if we did so many exercises or together. It was more that we were really like, we exchanged numbers, and we said, oh, let's go for drinks. And so it happened a little bit like, we always talk like we met a few times, we went for a few drinks. We got to know each other.
Here and there.
We got to know each other slowly.
We did.
Yeah, it was like nearly for a whole year before we started thinking about doing something together, wasn't it, Patrícia?
Yeah. Mercè kept on saying, like,
who popped the question? I don't know.
no, it was Mercè, for sure. for
Was
sure.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember being very reluctant to ruin our
Yes.
friendship.
Oh, yes,
I
you
was
did say.
like, by having a working relationship. So I was like, oh, we get on so well. This was my inner self saying, like, oh my God, I have a proper friend in London who really gets on. I had such a good time, and then I was thinking, oh my God, we're gonna go into a rehearsal room, doing stuff together. Jesus Christ, it's not gonna work. And then Mercè kept on saying, we should do something together. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's unavoidable. We have to do it. And I'm so happy we did, obviously. Because I love working with Mercè, and I completely mean it. And yeah, Mercè said, yeah, let's do something. And then we said, okay, tomorrow at 3 p.m., we're gonna send each other 3 plays we want to do, like 3 ideas, 3 things. Tomorrow, 3 p.m., 3 things. It felt like a proper specific task to do.
And what were your 3 things, Mercè?
I kind of remember a mixture of all of them. So it was there was some, like, Beckett was in there.
Yeah. Waiting for Godot.
Waiting for Godot was there. Then there was then I said about an adaptation of something that my friend had written. Um, what else? Was it Don Quixote there? Or was that your Patricia?
I
I think you mentioned that.
something about the Civil War. Something
Oh yeah, something like the Civil
something
War.
about the Civil War.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember. I don't
Two of
remember mine.
us.
It's like a mix of both. Yeah, it's somewhere there. But yeah, it was Civil War.
Was that like a funny adaptation of The House of Bernarda Alba?
How funny I say that. A funny adaptation of the Bernardo. And the other one was, remember Mercè, it was this it's a British tourist in Spain.
Oh yeah, what was it?
It's like stuff that British tourists do in Spain. Something like that.
Well, it's interesting that
Yeah.
those three things you sent to each other. I mean, one of those things was a very successful show for you. I think your version, brilliantly deconstructed version of Beckett's Waiting for Godot.
Yeah.
What became your first show officially for you?
Yeah, so officially it was the first show together officially was You and Me, which was an adaptation of a text of a Catalan writer who's from a near town, and he writes very surrealist text. And funnily enough, he's very inspired by Beckett, and it became our first show. It was like a duo, and it was about two old ladies, and which one of which is kind of losing their mind, and they are in this kind of you don't really know where they are exactly. So yeah, it has a lot of Beckett influence in it. So we adapted it with Brian E. Shanahan, did the adaptation with us, and we kind of we exploded it a little bit, and we did a lot of like dance and yeah, like we exploited the play a little bit. We had a lot of fun with it. Yeah, that was our special.
Did you take it to Edinburgh? Was that your first?
No. Our first Edinburgh was Don Quixote,
Ah,
which was like what do we do next? When we did You and Me, it was like a necessary question to ask to ourselves, because it did feel right. We did that show. It felt right. We got Arts Council funding eventually. That rare thing. And we got it. We even went to New York. Remember, Mercè,
Yeah.
with that with You and Me. And anyway, so I remember after unloading the van after. I remember being at Mercè's house in South Woodsford, was it?
Yeah.
And we were having a glass of wine on her bed. And we was like, what do we do next? What do we do? And yeah, it was Don Quixote. And then, yeah, that was amazing, Don Quixote with Stephen.
obviously we can't miss the opportunity to talk about our dear friend Steve.
Yeah, Stephen.
He was so delighted, I think, to find you, or you to find him. I remember him talking about the dynamic, and I think he really felt he'd found kindred spirits. And I think it was something that really mattered to Steve. The spirit of something that was so in you seemed to really connect with him.
He was
Really,
great.
I think the three of you were made for each other, which was a kind of extraordinary thing. And then that show kind of took on a kind of force of its own. I still hear people talk about that show and that dynamic. The three of you, was it three, or did you have a musician as well?
Yeah, so
Yes.
it was the three of us performing, and then Maria was part of the company, was on stage with us, and she was like playing. She's an incredible Spanish classic guitarist. So she was on stage with us. Yeah,
Yeah, but
amazing.
Stephen was great. He taught us how to. But I learned with him so much, especially during the rehearsal period, but also in Edinburgh. He was so naughty. He played the audience so well as well. Like, he
remember.
was. He was so great. Like, honestly, I find myself, I'm sure it happened to you too, but I find myself sometimes laughing on the street on my own, remember things from Stephen.
It does. It takes me unaware sometimes by surprise. I'll get in a room, luckily, with other people like yourselves who remember him, and we will laugh, sometimes to the point, and obviously it's mixed with loads of other emotions, but to the crying at something that Steve would have done or had, or had the audacity to do. Um, I mean, audacity is the right word. I mean, he was incredibly audacious, and I was so thrilled for him that he found that show and that you cast him. And sometimes Steve, I mean, obviously he was a core part of our family and was amazing, and he did lots of amazing things. But to see him so liberated, I think I always felt that was a really wonderful thing, so that you embraced all of that wonderful thing he had. And then obviously, you know, I wanted to touch on when we all collaborated on Heads Will Roll, a show that remains dear to our heart. You talk about things where you laugh in the street. We still have one of the strongest running jokes in our office is you touched my budget. Now, I will try and give it some context. In Heads Will Roll, we merged the story, as you remember, of the Spanish conquistadors searching for the lost city of gold, El Dorado, at the same time that the BBC, the doomed BBC soap opera was being created. And you played both the conquistador and two high-powered TV executives. Remember, I think you were improvising, and one of you in annoyance said, "You've touched my budget." To the budget. And this will never be as funny as I recall it, but then it became a riff on, "No, I didn't. You touched my budget." And it is a phrase which it crops up in our office randomly. That one of our team will say that, and we all will riff around that. So, but also my memories of that show was your really wonderful commitment to the sense of what you're playing, and that sounds an obvious thing to say, but you know, there was such a commitment to pursuing these sometimes wild ideas of two conquistadors finding what they think is gold in a toilet bowl, and it's a DVD of El Dorado, the BBC sitcom, and you played it with such awe and such commitment to the idea. So it remains a very, very favourite show of ours in our catalogue. It's a wonderful thing, and as you know, I'm consistently attempting to
For us, it was great. I mean, like we had a lot of fun. With you in the room, we learned a lot from you, Pope. And yeah, and it was amazing team.
it was yeah.
Amazing, amazing, amazing team. And yeah, of course you have to, commit to with all your heart and soul to the extreme.
Yeah. As we draw sadly towards the end of this lovely, heartwarming episode for me in particular, I want to touch on that idea of when you have a relationship that you created creatively together, and then you're cast in something where you're together. I mean, Haley and I both found ourselves both in Omar's wonderful production of Rhinoceros, and we hadn't been on stage together for many years because Haley had been doing different things. If she was on our stage, I was directing her. So the joy that I found, and I hope Haley did, of just being, we didn't have a lot to do in it, but the joy I had of being with her on stage and in the room, I think kind of resonates. And I just wonder how you feel about going into something else, which isn't yours, but you are together.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm really, really I feel like, yeah, really excited to also, yeah, spend a lot of time with Patrícia on stage, because that's going to be like quite a long run. So I'm really excited to be in a room together, to not have the responsibility as well of running a project. So also that I feel like that's going to give us a lot of room to play and to just to also have fun. But yeah, without that kind of, there's always, and we have like wonderful teams, when we kind of put a show together. But there's that always in the back of your mind that, like you need to you have those other hats that you need to fulfill. But in here, there's none of that. So I'm so looking forward to that time. It's like none of the other responsibility, just being an actor with you, like having fun on stage. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so happy, and also it's a combination of several things. Definitely going back to work with Mercè, we are already thinking about stuff. Like we are already going like, and Jason, how could do this and that, that. Even when we were preparing this, we were like, oh, let's sing this song when this time happens, So we're already plotting in our little, minds, and but yeah. So yeah, I subscribe everything Mercè is saying, and I will also add as well, like for going back to London into a room where this language is shared is I'm really really looking forward to it. Because here I am, not struggling. I'm having a good time here, but you know, it's it's gonna some things I feel they're gonna move faster because we do share a language.
Do you have any thoughts around what the next Little Soldier show might be, or can you say anything about that? Or planned?
Yeah, yeah. I think we could say a little bit. It's gonna be about art, status. Can I say more, Mercè? Mercè, Mercè.
We are working with a
Mercè's
dramaturg.
gonna turn me off
No,
later.
no, 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 no. No, I think this is it. Like, yeah, we're touching on art and for artists, and we are working with a dramaturg called Kirsty Housley at the minute. So yeah, we'll we'll see where that take us. We are in the very, very, very early stages. So we've kind of done an R&D, and then we are just kind of still in the finding stories stage. So yeah, but moving slowly, but towards it.
Yeah.
I'm already intrigued to see you two discovering art and deciding who gets to do it or see it. I haven't see you do anything anywhere at any time.
Oh, thank you.
The Little Soldier, thank you so much for joining us. And when you're in London, let's go and have a glass of wine together and hang out a bit, for sure. But thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Dear listeners, if you've enjoyed this Idiot podcast, please spread the word